Imagine you're running McDonald's in the 1960s. Your entire business is built around one simple idea: burgers. Then one franchise owner tells you, "I want to sell fish." The CEO says no. So they make him compete against a bizarre pineapple burger. And on one single test day, the pineapple burger sells 6. The fish sandwich sells 350. That bad idea would become the Filet-O-Fish, one of the most recognizable products in fast food history. And the real story isn't about fish. It's about how one struggling restaurant forced McDonald's to discover a business model it didn't even know it needed. In the early 1960s, McDonald's was already becoming a fast food powerhouse. But one restaurant in Cincinnati had a serious problem. The location was surrounded by a large Catholic population. And at the time, many Catholics avoided meat on Fridays, particularly during Lent. That meant something very simple for a burger restaurant. Friday sales were collapsing. The franchise owner was Lou Groen. And Groen had a choice. He could accept that Fridays were going to be terrible. Or he could find a product that gave customers a reason to walk through the door. So he proposed something that sounded almost absurd for McDonald's. A fish sandwich. At the time, McDonald's had a brutally simple identity. Burgers. Fries. Milkshakes. That was the machine. Fish didn't fit the machine. But Groen wasn't trying to reinvent McDonald's. He was trying to solve one very specific problem. Empty tables on Friday. And this is where the story becomes a business case study. Ray Kroc wasn't immediately convinced. In fact, Kroc believed he had a better idea. His solution? The Hula Burger. A grilled pineapple slice with cheese on a bun. Think about that for a second. McDonald's had a franchisee saying, "Customers want fish." And Kroc was essentially saying, "No. Let's sell them pineapple." So instead of having a long corporate debate, Kroc created a test. One Friday. 2 products. The Hula Burger versus the Filet-O-Fish. Whichever one won would have a chance to become part of the McDonald's menu. And Kroc was so confident in his pineapple burger that he even made a bet over the outcome. Then the numbers came in. Hula Burger. 6. Filet-O-Fish. 350. That wasn't a narrow victory. That was a demolition. McDonald's had just discovered something extremely valuable. Customers were willing to buy something McDonald's wasn't originally designed to sell. This is the first reason the Filet-O-Fish story matters. Great businesses don't always grow by inventing what customers should want. Sometimes they grow by noticing what customers already want. Groen didn't conduct a billion-dollar corporate research project. He didn't create a massive advertising campaign. He simply noticed something happening at the cash register. Customers weren't buying burgers on Friday. So he changed the offer. That's an incredibly important distinction. Because McDonald's could have said, "We're a burger company. Customers will have to adapt." Instead, the company eventually learned. The menu should adapt to the customer. And that philosophy became incredibly important to McDonald's. After the test, McDonald's couldn't ignore the numbers. The Filet-O-Fish was introduced to the national menu and became the first non-hamburger item added to McDonald's original menu. And in 1965, it became a permanent national menu item at just 29 cents. Think about what just happened. McDonald's had started with a very narrow formula. Burger, fries, drink. Now the company had something else. Burger customers who didn't want burgers. That sounds obvious today. But it wasn't obvious then. And that's often where the biggest business opportunities hide. Not in creating an entirely new market, but in discovering a group of customers your existing business accidentally ignored. The Filet-O-Fish gave McDonald's a way to capture demand that otherwise might have gone to competitors. And the economics became even more interesting. Because once the product existed, McDonald's didn't need a completely new restaurant. It didn't need a new drive-thru. It didn't need a second brand. It could use the same restaurants, employees, supply chain and customer traffic. That's operating leverage. The infrastructure already existed. The company simply added another reason to use it. This is where the story moves from food history into finance. A menu item isn't just food. At McDonald's scale, it's a business asset. McDonald's had thousands of restaurants, standardized operations, and a global supply chain. So when a product works locally, the company can potentially scale it across thousands of locations. And that's one of the most powerful advantages of franchising. A local franchisee can discover an opportunity. The corporation can test it. Then the system can scale it. That's essentially an innovation pipeline. The Filet-O-Fish became part of that machine. And the product survived. That raises another important question. Why? McDonald's has created hundreds of menu experiments over the decades. Most didn't survive. Some became cult favorites. Some disappeared almost immediately. But the Filet-O-Fish survived for more than 6 decades. And the reason is bigger than taste. It solves a specific customer problem. Some customers don't eat beef. Some customers want seafood. Some customers are looking for a different option during Lent. And some customers simply want something different from another burger. That means the Filet-O-Fish isn't competing only against other fish sandwiches. It's competing for the customer's entire meal occasion. That's a much more powerful position. And during Lent, the demand becomes especially concentrated. McDonald's has reported that roughly a quarter of Filet-O-Fish sales occurred during the Lenten season. That means the product doesn't need to be the biggest seller on the menu. It simply needs to dominate a specific customer need. And that's a powerful business strategy. Now let's return to the phrase billion-dollar product. McDonald's currently describes 17 classic menu items as billion-dollar brands. The company doesn't publicly break out Filet-O-Fish revenue as a standalone billion-dollar brand in that list. So the more interesting question isn't, did this sandwich literally generate exactly $1 billion? The better question is, how much business can one small product unlock when you already own one of the world's largest restaurant systems? Because the real value isn't just the price of the sandwich. It's the additional customer. The additional visit. The fries. The drink. The dessert. The repeat purchase. The seasonal demand. The supply contracts. The marketing. And the fact that the product can be sold through infrastructure McDonald's already built. That's how a simple menu addition can become economically enormous. And there's an even bigger lesson here. McDonald's didn't need to know the Filet-O-Fish would become iconic before testing it. They only needed to recognize the signal. 350 versus 6. That was the signal. The market had spoken. And this is why the Filet-O-Fish story is really a story about McDonald's. The company isn't just selling hamburgers. It's building a system capable of taking a successful idea, standardizing it, marketing it, supplying it, and distributing it through tens of thousands of locations. That's why McDonald's can turn a small operational discovery into a global product. And the company still operates that way today. In 2025, McDonald's had more than 45,000 restaurants worldwide, with approximately 95% franchised, and generated more than $139 billion in system-wide sales. That scale changes the economics of innovation. A product that works in one restaurant can potentially become a product sold across an enormous global network. And that's the real asset. Not the sandwich. The machine behind the sandwich. So the next time you see a Filet-O-Fish at McDonald's, remember what you're actually looking at. It wasn't born from a brilliant corporate presentation. It wasn't created because McDonald's wanted to become a seafood company. It started because one franchise owner had a problem. His restaurant was empty on Fridays. Corporate said no. The CEO bet against it. And then customers delivered the final vote. 6 pineapple burgers. 350 fish sandwiches. That tiny experiment changed the McDonald's menu forever. And perhaps the biggest lesson is this. The next billion-dollar idea in business may not come from the CEO. It may come from the person standing closest to the customer, who notices a problem everyone else has learned to ignore. And that is exactly why the Filet-O-Fish was never supposed to exist. But McDonald's couldn't afford to ignore it.